No, because it was then followed up with, oh no, being replaced by a middle-aged man.
No,
That's the one. So what's coming up next then?
Marcy.
What is this film you keep talking about?
We'll get to it.
David Hemmings was the narrator of Journey to the Centre of the Earth.
Not of Journey to the Mysterious Island.
Not
though.
that one.
Okay.
No, it wasn't. But I know what I'm going to be listening to. In fact, I might even play some later. Anyway, or even indeed what the album of the week might be.
Okay.
10 minutes to 4, and there's some other new films, very interesting films actually still to come.
Martha, Marcy, May, Marlene. Now, one of the difficult things about being a film critic is it is true that some films are best enjoyed the less you know about them. And I have to say, in the case of Martha, Marcy, May, Marlene, it's very difficult to say anything without... I went in to see it knowing nothing other than that it was an indie hit, that it had done very well at festivals, that Elizabeth Olsen starred in it, people have referred to it as a star-making performance, and that the poster says haunting, mesmerising, enigmatic, and that kind of thing. So, in a way, if you don't want to know anything about it, just turn off for the next few minutes. I will try and tread carefully. I have seen some reviews which I think have given away perhaps more than should. Essentially what happens is it's a sort of an indie-spirited film written and directed by Sean Durkin. At the very beginning of it, we see Elizabeth Olsen's character waking up in what looks like a kind of benign remake of Deliverance, in which we're sort of out in a wood shack, out in country, huge numbers of people living in a cramped space, some strange family unit going on. She runs away from that family unit. She then turns up with a relative who she rings up and says, I'm in the middle of nowhere, you have to come and get me. Next thing she knows is she finds herself living in a now very sort of upmarket middle-class environment with her middle-class sister, having run away from what looked like the utter opposite, a sort of culty type colony. So from one world to the next. Here's a clip.
Put out your cigarette.
Why?
Just do it.
Is that him?
Yeah. Hey.
Is this Martha?
Hi.
How you doing?
Great. Oh, you've got a really nice place here.
It's as much yours as it is mine. I thought you quit.
I did.
I worry for you.
I know.
I'm sorry.
Don't apologize to me, it's your body. Zoe, look after this girl. For once in her life, she deserves some real care.
I will. She's been great. Everyone's been really great.
Good. Martha, you look like a Marcy May.
Marcy was my grandmother's name.
Well, there you go.
So a terrific performance from John Hawkes as Patrick, who is the kind of head of the colony, the family, away from which she runs. Now, the best way of saying this is if you know anything about late 60s history, American history, and you see a film in which there is a character who is looking after a family, the family seems to have been constructed by collecting variously disenfranchised teenage girls, by treating them in a way which is immediately taking away their names from them, getting them to work in what they believe is a benevolent and benign community, but actually is something quite other than that. You start hearing certain phrases that you will perhaps have heard on the news before. One of the things that these people do is that they creepy crawl other people's houses. You will put all the pieces of this together very quickly. I'm not going to say any more than that because if you're not fine, if you're attuned to those things, you will pick up all of those signals. And I have to say that one of the interesting things about this film is that on the one hand, it's a portrait of this character who is disenfranchised and attempting to find herself and attempting to crawl her way back to some semblance of an integrated person. On the other hand, it is, for my mind, a proper horror movie. I mean, I was genuinely disturbed and creeped out by it, but partly because it creeps up on you in a way that is so excellently understated and insidious. It is essentially, I mean, some people have said that what it's about how the central character in either of the two environments she's in, because the time frame flip-flops between the life that she's escaped and the life to which she has run, and says that actually in both of them she finds herself confined. I disagree with that. I think it's a film which would nod its head towards, for example, that TV drama a while ago. I think it was called Passport to Paradise or Ticket to Paradise. It is a film about it's a film about brainwashing to some extent. I think what's extraordinary about it is that it depicts really grotesque manipulation of character, but in a way which is very quiet, very gentle, very understated. It's a horror movie that never looks like a horror movie, and I think that actually people wouldn't describe it as a horror movie, but to me, that's what it was. To me, it's a movie that genuinely portrays something creepy and unpleasant and difficult, and yet it never seems to be doing that. It is on another hand, like I said, an indie. It's very interesting that poster literally has a picture of two faces together and says haunting, mesmerising, but tries not to tell you anything else. So what I'd say is you definitely need to go and see it. It's really well directed. It
sounds more psychological thriller than horror.
It's not a thriller. It's absolutely not a thriller. But it's a horror movie in as much as it moves towards something which you see it coming from a long way. I mean, it's not like a denouement. It's just this kind of growing sense of somebody... This growing sense of somebody being brainwashed and manipulated and then attempting to reconstruct... No, exactly. It is to some extent. I mean, obviously, other people have drawn connections with David Koresh, and there is that, but it is more than that. And yet, the way in which it depicts that, the way in which it depicts somebody looking for something and being found and preyed upon, I thought was really, really excellently done, genuinely quite striking, and I was genuinely disturbed by it. For me, it's a horror movie. I understand that that's not how everybody would see it. I understand that's not how everybody would play it out, but I found it was what a horror movie ought to do, which is make you feel proper uneasy and proper uncomfortable, and a depiction of something which actually is genuinely disturbing, but in a way which was done, with such a gentle touch. Some people have complained about the ending. I have no problem with the ending at all. I mean, it nods towards Silkwood, I think, to some extent. And, rather this than any of the other bilge that historical event back in the 1960s has inspired.
And if you want to know more, I mean, I'm guessing...
what I don't want to do is say whatever...